Welcome to day 2 of our workshop on participant engagement and health equity.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Donna Antoine-LaVigne, and I'd like to express my appreciation for being allowed the opportunity to come and talk to you a little bit about what we think is one of the best things going, and that's the Jackson Heart Study in Jackson, Mississippi. We began recruitment in 2000, and our first participant exam was conducted on September 26th. So we are entering into our 15th year of the Jackson Heart Study. We allow opportunity for substantive community engagement. We recruited 5,301 participants between the ages of 34 and 85, African American men and women. We have kept them engaged through a number of structured opportunities, which include the steering committee or the governing body of the Jackson Heart Study. Over the years, we have had 2 members from the community to participate on the steering committee, along with 2 members from each center. That governance is changing just a little bit, but we hope to get it back to the 2 community members because we think that input is so terribly important, especially since at least one of our members is a participant. We also have subcommittees that they participate on, the genetics subcommittee, the community partnership subcommittee. We also have publications committee and ancillary committees that we've had community engaged in. Currently, they are not represented on these committees, but as I said, we're moving back to where we were during the first contractual period of having community representation on each of our very vital committees. We also have a Community Ethics Advisory Board, which is comprised of community members, community health advisors. We also have noted individuals in genetics and bioethics who are not locally with us. They are across the country, and if I called their names, you would say, yeah, we know them. So we're very fortunate with that. We also have 5 community health advisory groups, and they're located in the 3 counties in which Jackson Heart Study is located. Jackson Heart Study is located in the Tri-County area, or the Metro Jackson area as we refer to it, Hinds County, Rankin, and Madison counties. We have 2 community health advisor groups in 3 in Hinds County, in Jackson, Clinton, and our rural one, which is located in the Bolton-Edwards area, which is 20 miles southwest of Jackson. We also have one in Rankin County, which is about a mile east of Jackson, and one in Madison County in Canton. And these are all relatively historic places that I've mentioned, especially with regard to the civil rights movement, but they all have their own little unique flavor. None of them are alike. The communities are totally different. Over the years, we also had what we refer to as a council of elders, and they were some of our participants, but also some of our community members who were very involved in the initial development of a lot of the forms, including getting information back from them on the consent documents. We also have a community partnership coalition, which is probably more formally referred to as a community advisory board in some areas. It's very active. As a matter of fact, we just had a meeting about a week ago. And they have helped over the years to frame messages to the community. They have helped in the development of some of the forms that we use when engaging community, so their input has been most valuable. Recruitment. The Jackson Heart Study is a partnership of 3 institutions, including the NHLBI, which is Jackson State University, which initially held the coordinating center and the community outreach office. Now, Jackson State University has 2 centers, which is a graduate training and education center, along with the community outreach center. Tougaloo College, which is a HBCU liberal arts college, they have the Undergraduate Training Education Center, and they are absolutely phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. They have put out students who are now researchers with MD, PhD combinations, MD, MPH, PhD, MPH, PhD, MD, MPH. I mean, it goes on. They are absolutely phenomenal. So I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. Wendy White and Dr. Ashok Srinivasan for the work that they do. It is very honorable work also. Also, we have the University of Mississippi Medical Center, which was responsible for the clinical aspects of the exam and also recruitment. And I'd like to say that the outreach office and the recruitment team worked hand in hand because we kind of did the groundwork, you know, readying the community, familiarizing them with the Jackson Heart Study, conducting outreach activities in targeted communities. We looked at where the recruitment team would go, and that's where we would do our events or our activities to purposefully ready the community for recruitment. Initially, they started out with huge billboards in various places in the community, and I heard someone say earlier that billboards don't work. That's correct. They didn't work. You have to have a face-to-face, body-to-body kind of interaction with folks if you want to really get them engaged in what you're doing and to allow opportunity to build trust. Trust is a major factor in not only recruiting, but also retaining your participants. If you say you're going to do this, you must either do this or you must give a really strong justification as to why there may be a challenge to do it or why you may want to change what you're doing. And then if you're going to make changes, you must go to the community and say, how can we do these? You know, what's the best way to do this? You know, things never stay the same. You know, it's evolution and everything. So there have been some changes, and we have managed to keep an almost 80% retention rate. I think we go somewhere between 77 and 80. And if you remember the myth and over the years, and probably even some of the research said it was not possible to recruit a strong African American cohort or only African American research group. Not true. It can be done, but you must know what is needed. You must know how to approach and how to continuously engage your community because they want to know. The strategies that were developed for the recruitment and now for the retention were developed by the Community Outreach Office, which is now the Community Outreach Center. So the face of the study initially, I would say, was that of the HBCUs because we looked like them and kind of talked like them. I'm not a researcher, so forgive me for not using technical terms, but I am a participant, happy to be one, and will remain one. But it's most important, I think, that the staff that's presenting or doing the groundwork or working with the community have a presence in the community. We purposefully hired individuals from the community, not only to do the recruitment on the UMC side, but also to do the groundwork or the outreach in the communities. One of my staff, who is also a licensed beautician, likes to say that she also has a PhD. And she says she's a professional hairdresser. Well, you know, when you go to beauty shops or barbershops, and I'm telling you, gentlemen, I pick up on a lot of stuff in barbershops. If I thought you could learn in beauty shops, go to a barbershop on a Saturday morning. You will hear some of everything. So she has an appeal, you know, to the community. She knows folks by name, and you have to do that. You have to know folks by name. You can't sit in a meeting with investigators and say, well, the community this and the community that. So when we have our 3 major community-wide events during the year, and they see us up there and we can point to Miss Johnson or Miss Bessie or Mr. Earl Smith or somebody and call them by name, then they know that there is a tie-in. There is a real tie-in, a real relationship with whom we are speaking about when we're talking about community. And community also, for Jackson Heart Study, includes participants. So it's not just the community at wide. Talking about, let me say just a little bit about the community-wide events that we have. We have a celebration of life in February, and February is what? African American History Month. It's also National Heart Month, and it's Women's Health Month. So we purposefully, again, did that. We typically have 250 to 300 plus people to come out to those events. That is an opportunity for us to bring in noted speakers. We've had people like David Satcher, Vanessa Northington Gamble, Reuben Warren, Rodney Hood, and others to come in and speak with our community and engage them on relevant issues that our community is interested in. We also have the Community Monitoring Board. Each year, we go to our OSMB, which is our scientific monitoring board, that determines whether or not we stick around for another year. We go to our community, and this provides an opportunity for them to ask questions, make comments, give recommendations, and otherwise interact and network with our investigators and with our other staff. So, and during this time, we have a little segment that we call the State of the Study. Just like the President gives the State of the Union, the Mayor gives the State of the City, we have a State of the Study. So it provides an update to community on what we're doing, how we're doing it. Now, one of the weaknesses, yes, we do have a weakness. One of our weaknesses that we're working very, very diligently on, and it's being done around the country now, is translation. If what we find out, what our investigators find out, what their findings are, their results, if they're not translated back to the community, then the research is only for researchers. You know, it's only to, I guess, involve them or update them, let them know what we're finding. Well, that's not the purpose in my mind. If you're researching on a particular group or community, they have a right to know what the findings are. Now, there's a big issue on genetics. Now, and I think that's a preference piece right there. Some of our folks, they run the gamut. They'll say, just take my DNA, my data, and do whatever you need to do with it. You know, I just do whatever because it'll help somebody. And then we have this end that says, well, no, you said this was cardiovascular, so that's all I want done. So, and then we have people in the middle that will say, well, if you're going to do this, then I want to be involved with that, but not this, not that. We did find that with the MOCA, there was pushback. There was pushback on that. They didn't really want to engage with the MOCA. It is, you know, you would ask me that, wouldn't you? I'm not a scientist. I know I opened my mouth. It is a like memory test to see how much you can remember, how much you can identify. And for some reason, some people thought it was an intelligence test. Yeah. So, there was pushback on it. But most everything else, you know, gladly and freely. So, and of course, it's good for research. Data collected, we did diet and physical activity. We did blood and urine analysis, coping, discrimination and racism, stress, access to health care, EKGs, ECGs, MRIs, CTs, pulmonary function, and stroke. And I'm sure I left some things out, but it was fairly comprehensive. And the exams, to show you how committed our folks are, the exams, the initial exam probably was 4 hours, you know. So we did assist with transportation we assisted with childcare. If there was a way that we could have helped folks who were caregivers at home, we did that. So we tried to think of all the things that we might need if we were in a study and had these certain needs. Individual results were returned. You know, they did get information back on their, you know, cholesterol, glucose, et cetera. Now, we would also provide that information to their physicians if they wanted us to, or we would give them an extra copy to take to their physicians. Additionally, if individuals did not have a physician, we had a list of physicians who had volunteered to see them. And we engaged physicians from the onset by going to their offices, talking with them, because we know it's two people older black folks will listen to. Anybody have a clue? Pastors and doctors. That's exactly right. So if they went to their doctor and they said, look, I've been approached about being in some kind of study. I think it's a heart study, Jackson Heart. And they said, well, you know, I haven't heard much about that. I don't know what to tell you. They're going to push back. And if they go to their pastor and they say, well, you know, I'm really interested in this study, this heart study, but I don't know much. And the pastor would say, don't know much. I can't tell you. Nobody's talked to me about it. And so we did a full court press with ministers and physicians. We went to ministerial alliances. We also, and one thing that I know we learned, a lesson learned, is just because the pastor says, oh yeah, come to my church on Sunday. Well, you may go and you'll sit there waiting to talk or say something. But what he failed to do was say, well, you need to talk with my secretary. Or let me give you the name of the head of our motherboard, you know, because they kind of make the decision. So you figure that out. And then when you've made all the right connections, you can go. We had one of our community folks wanted us to do a red hat society. We would show up in churches with our red hats on and be recognized. And it was wonderful. They'd give us like 5 minutes to stand up and talk about the heart study. And by that time, people were saying, I'm in that study, or how can I get in that study? So it was just real stimulating. Communication is ongoing. We have a newsletter that comes out twice a year. It covers the gamut. We have had lay summaries in our newsletter. We make sure that we cover what all the centers are doing, along with what our community health advisors do. Our community health advisors are invaluable. They have actually, I think through their presence in the community and the things that they do, they have actually helped to change some of the health behaviors in their community. Something as simple as going from whole milk to 1%, or eventually skim milk. Things like that. Smoking. You know, children are great ambassadors for not smoking also. So, and our elderly are. So our community health advisors have been just invaluable in that sense. We also, I think I mentioned our celebration of life, our community monitoring board. September is when we have our birthday celebration. And the birthday celebration is really fantastic. This year is our 15th. I invite all of you to come. The theme is Hats Off to the Jackson Heart Study. We're going to honor our I get a little choked up when I think about it. We're going to honor Mrs. Cunningham, who can no longer participate. She was 80-some years old when she was no longer able to participate with us. She was a valuable voice to the Jackson Heart Study, and it was her idea to do the Red Hat Society, which really gained momentum for us in the churches. And the men, when we first started talking about it, the men would say, well, the ladies are going to wear red hats. What are we going to wear? And I very, humbly said red shoes. And they said, red shoes? I said, just kidding. So we asked them to wear their red ties, and they did. Although I must say over the years, I did see at least one gentleman with red shoes on. But it's a great place to be. It's wonderful to be engaged so deeply with our community. They're absolutely unbeatable. I mean, that they're absolutely great. And we have a huge genetic studies that are going, huge genetic studies that are going on. We've been part of CARE. We're part of the, I think Emerge is coming around. We've done a number of things. And I think that's all I have to say. But
Thanks.
don't limit, I was going to say, don't limit contact with community through technology. Our folks the average age of our folks is probably my age, and I'm 63. So a lot of them do email, a lot of them may not. They may have phones, they may not. They may have computers, and they may not. So think out of the box.